Oh, hi Webelos. Welcome to part 2 of the Webelos Walkabout. You know, when you're hiking, it's important that you're aware of what's around you. And if you're hiking an established trail, you may find some trail marks which may help guide you. And you may also have a trail map which shows you the way to go. But sometimes we may encounter some plants or animals that we need to stay away from. Requirement 5 asks you to identify some of these poisonous plants and dangerous animals and insects that you might come across while hiking. Let me take a little break here from my walkabout and review some of these with you. I just happen to have some pictures in my pack. The first one is a very common one we find in our area, and that's poison ivy. Poison ivy can be identified as follows. Poison ivy has leaves that grow in groups of 3. Poison ivy is a stem with a large leaf at the end and 2 smaller leaves shooting off the sides. The leaves can be notched or smooth on the edges, and they have pointed tips. Poison ivy leaves are pointed at the tip, and poison ivy is usually green in the spring and reddish orange in the fall. Poison ivy grows as both a vine that you may see growing up a tree or as a shrub. Poison ivy flowers have small clusters of white berries in the spring that last throughout the winter. Poison ivy. Now, another one of the poisonous plants that you might encounter depending on where you hike is poison oak. The one thing that doesn't vary for poison oak is the pattern of 3 leaflets branching from a single independent stem. 2 leaves are attached directly to the stalk opposite each other. The 3rd leaf juts out from them at a right angle, so the 3-leaf pattern forms a triangle. There are no additional leaves on the same stalk. The leaves may be serrated, or kind of like a steak knife edge, round, or oak-like, depending on what other foliage is around the poison oak plants. They may be shiny or not. They may have a red tinge or not. Be wary, or you're in for a week of itchy torture. The plant itself may be seen as single stalks close to the ground with 3 leaves, or as a bush, or a vine climbing a tree, and you can see poison oak plants growing in all of these ways within a few feet of each other. Blackberry vines may appear to have only 3 leaves, but usually have 5. A key point is that wild blackberry vines develop thorns, and that's how you tell blackberries apart from poison oak. Poison oak is generally a shrub averaging about 3 feet tall, but shoots of it can also grow as a vine. Not commonly found in the middle part of the U.S., poison oak is primarily situated on the west coast and the east coast in the southeast, not in our area. There's one other poisonous plant that we want to talk about, and you probably already know the name of that one, right? And that's poison sumac. Poison sumac stems, which are generally red, another of the defining features, have 7 to 13 leaves in pairs with a lone leaf at the end. Leaves are oval, elongated, and smooth-edged, usually 2 to 4 inches long. They are bright orange in spring, dark green in summer, and red-orange in the fall. Poison sumac thrives in watery, swampy environs, presently most in the southwest and southeastern U.S., where high humidity is common. It grows as a tree or tall shrub, 5 to 20 feet tall. So these 3 poison plants are the 3 that produce an oil that once we get it on our skin, we often have a reaction to. So you need to be careful about these plants. Again, in our general area, here in the mid-Atlantic and area, the only one of the poison plants that's actually common is poison ivy. And here we have a map that kind of shows where those poisonous plants tend to thrive. And you can see in our particular area, poison ivy is about the only poison plant or poisonous plants that we have a reaction to in our area. Okay? All right. So that covers some poisonous plants. Now, what about some poisonous snakes? Ooh, yeah. I know some people are scared of snakes, and some deserve our respect, so that we need to give them space when we encounter them in the woods. And the timber rattler is one of those. Now, the timber rattlesnake is an endangered species of rattlesnake native to the United States. Their habitat extends from New Hampshire through the Appalachian Mountains. And they've been spotted as far south as northern Georgia and as far west as southwest Wisconsin and northeastern Texas. They are likely found in deciduous forests and rugged terrain. Although venomous, timber rattlesnakes are considered docile. That means they're not very active and usually only bite as a last resort. The physical color of a timber rattlesnake can vary widely depending on its area where it's living. For example, you can have many different color variations called color morphs, including a black morph, where the background of the snake is gray with a rich black pattern, a yellow morph, where the background is tan with a sulfur yellow pattern, or a combination morph, which we typically see in the western and southeastern populations, which can have a mixture of black and yellow morphs. In general, a timber rattlesnake can be identified as having a wide head and narrow neck. They have a V or W-shaped crossbar marking, which create a distinct pattern across its back. They are typically nocturnal, which means they are out at night, and actively hunt during that time. You can find them during the day because of thermoregulation or the warming of its core temperature. Snakes that thermogenerate can often be found sunning themselves on rocks or in direct sunlight. While they're not active during the day, they can still be found under these conditions. Timber rattlesnake, one of the snakes that you need to watch out for when you're hiking. Another poisonous snake common in our area is the water moccasin. The water moccasin appears brightly colored with red-brown bands that extend across its back and down its sides without crossing the belly. Many of the cross bands on the snake's back can contain dark spots and flecks. Keeled scales cover their body with raised ridges running lengthwise in the center of the scale. Because of their keeled scales, water moccasins do not appear shiny, but instead appear dull with a non-reflective surface. The easiest way to identify the water moccasin from a non-venomous water snake is to check its head. Water snakes have a long, tapered head that blends seamlessly into their body, and there are no heat-sensing pits below and between the eyes and the nose. All pit vipers, water moccasins included, have a distinctly wedge-shaped triangular head and much smaller necks than their heads. Most water moccasins seldom bite when threatened unless stepped on or picked up, and if given enough space, they'll turn and leave. Water moccasin. Oh, there's one more that we encounter from time to time, depending on where you're hiking, and that's the copperhead. The copperhead gets its name from the coppery tan color found mainly on its head and throughout parts of its body down to the tail. An adult copperhead's average length ranges from 2 to 3 feet, but they can reach a length of 4 feet. Since the copperhead is a pit viper, you'll notice a very distinctive triangular shaped head. And these wider parts of the head allow for space to fit the snake's fangs and venom glands. Parts of the pattern of the copperhead resemble an hourglass and is one of the most diagnostic traits of all. The hourglass shape lies somewhat sideways on the copperhead's back. And copperheads are not aggressive, nor do they go out of their way to bite humans or other unsuspecting bystanders. The copperhead. All right. Well, I think that's about enough on snakes, okay? But there's some other little pesky varmints that we deal with from time to time. And that's bees and honeybees, wasps, and bumblebees, yellow jackets, those things. First, there's an easy way to tell between honeybees, the most common type of bee that we encounter, and wasps. Bees are furry and wasps are smooth and generally hairless. Honeybees will generally leave you alone unless you bother them, and will then leave you alone if you stop. And they die shortly after they sting. Wasps, by contrast, do not die after stinging. They are known to attack unprovoked, and especially if their nests are disturbed, will chase people hundreds of yards once in attack mode. Also, bees collect pollen and pollinate flowers. Wasps are carnivorous. They eat other insects, and they do not help with pollination. There are also a couple of variations on wasps. Hornets, which are larger and have black and white rings instead of black and yellow, and yellow jackets, which closely resemble wasps but nest underground instead of above ground. Like wasps, hornets and yellow jackets can sting multiple times. Their venom, and a honeybee's venom, can be deadly to those with allergies and not exactly pleasant for those of us without allergies. Also, let's not forget about the other type of bee, the bumblebee. They have black and yellow stripes and pollinate like honeybees, but like wasps and their cousins, bumblebees can sting you as many times as they like. So we just need to give bees, wasps, hornets, yellow jackets, and bumblebees a wide berth when we encounter them on the trail. But they're not the only insects that can bother us. No, as we look, there are some ticks, little small critters out here that we need to watch for. There are hundreds of species of ticks around the world. The majority of tick-borne diseases transmitted to humans and pets are carried by the main tick group, the black-legged tick, which includes the deer tick, dog ticks, and lone star ticks. The deer tick, also called the black-legged tick, is one of the most common ticks found in the United States. Deer ticks are the smallest in North America, with adults growing to about the size of a sesame seed. They are distinctly reddish and have a solid black dorsal shield with long, thin mouth parts. You can find them located very common across the East Coast, Upper Midwest, and the Great Lakes regions. So this is one very common in our particular area. The Lone Star tick is medium-sized with a very round body, reddish-brown color, and long, thin mouth parts. The most easily identifiable characteristic is an obvious white dot on the female's dorsal shield, which gives the tick its name, Lone Star tick. These are located most commonly in the southeastern United States, but have been spreading as far north as Maine. The brown dog tick is small with an elongated body, reddish-brown color, and hexagonal mouth parts. Unlike the American dog tick, the brown dog tick does not have a decorated dorsal shield. The most commonly feeds on dogs, but can also infect humans. Their location is found year-round across the entire United States, but most often seen in the southern areas. So those are ticks. That's one reason why I'm wearing a hat while I'm walking today. I know it's one of the 6 essentials that we should have when we go on a hike to protect us from the sun, but I also wear it to keep the little critters off of my head and out of my hair. Because there's another little critter that we need to be aware of, and you can see that's a very, very small one. The picture of it right there on somebody's finger. Outdoor fun sometimes comes with a price and an itchy rash from pests you can't see. And these are called chiggers. Bugs so small you need a magnifying glass to spot them. They aren't dangerous, but their bites can leave you with a powerful urge to scratch. Technically, these critters aren't insects. They're arachnids in the same family as spiders and ticks. Adult chiggers don't bite. It's the babies, called larvae, that you have to watch out for. They're red, orange, yellow, or straw colored, and no more than 0.3 of a millimeter long. After they hatch from eggs, the babies don't fly and don't travel very far on their own. They tend to stay clumped together in large groups on leaves and grass, usually less than a foot off the ground, and attached to animals and people as they pass by. You got to watch for the chiggers. Which brings us to their cousins, the spiders. And there's 2 of those that we want to talk about. The one we commonly hear most about is the black widow spider. There's no other spider that causes as much apprehension as the black widow spider because they thrive in warmer temperatures. Black widows are most common in the south and western regions of the United States, but can be found in all 50 states. The adult female is usually jet black with 2 reddish triangular markings forming an hourglass shape on the underside of the abdomen. Mature females are nearly 1/2 inch in body length, and males are about half that size. The markings of immature spiderlings and mature males are similar, light brown, orange, or white in color, with light streaks on their abdomens. The black widow spider. Which brings us to the last spider that we want to talk about, and that's one we commonly see as well, and that's the brown recluse spider. Also known as the violin spider, this is a venomous creature whose bite can cause children and adults to become ill. The brown recluse is unusual because it has only 6 eyes. Most spiders have 8, and wears a violin-shaped marking on its back. A brown recluse has a dirt or sandy brown body with slightly darker markings at its center. They can also be dark brown and even slightly yellow. Its legs are a lighter brown and completely uniform in color with no additional markings. Examine the violin shape on the spider's body. It's a slightly darker brown color than the rest of the body. The brown recluse, like other spiders, has only 6 eyes. They are arranged in pairs, 1 pair in the center and a pair on either side. Because the eyes are so small, it can be difficult to see them without a magnifying glass. The brown recluse has many fine, short hairs on its body. Unlike some other spiders, it does not have spines on its body or legs. If you see a spider with spines, it's definitely not a recluse. So these are some critters that we need to be aware of and need to watch out for as we go hiking in the woods. If you want to learn more about these poisonous plants, venomous snakes, and pesky insects, with the permission of your parents, you can do some additional research on the internet. Well, it was good to be with you and to talk with you during my walkabout. Perhaps I can see you somewhere else on down the trail. I'm going to continue my walkabout, but you remember, it's great to be alive and scouting.